Hello, everyone. Here's Ola from B&D, the Board&Dice crew. And I welcome you to the panel about representation in board games, which is topic very, very close to my heart. Games are enjoyed by so many different people all around the world. It doesn't really matter age, gender, or ethnicity you are. And as I said, today we will talk about representation and why it matters. Our wonderful guests are Beneeta, who is a Twitch streamer and TikToker, Matthew from Room 51, and
Hello.
Stella from Meeple University. Hello, guys. And well, let's start from the basics, I think. What does the word representation means to you, and why does it matter?
Well, I can go first. So for me, representation means, being able to see myself in the games that I play. And it matters because it makes you feel included. Obviously I can play other characters who don't look like me. That's never a problem. But seeing me in a certain way represented in a game that I'm playing, it brings you more in. It makes you feel like, oh, I belong here. Like, people like me play games like this. And I think that's really important because I always want to make the hobby bigger. And one way to do so is by making sure representation is included in the board games that we play.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump off of what Beneeta was saying. And I think that as well as seeing myself in gaming, I think that representation also for me means seeing others in the game as well. So not just me, but anyone, being able to see anybody in the game. And I think it's important. A lot of what Beneeta was saying is important because it is what makes it important. But I would also say that it makes things more welcoming. I think that so much of what everybody wants, no matter who you are, is this sense of belonging. And if you feel like you belong somewhere, you feel great, right? I mean, you found your place in the world. And I feel like board gamers, we're all sort of outcasts anyway, right? Who
those nerds,
board gamer, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah. So why not feel like we belong in here? Why be an outcast in this already sort of outcasted group?
Yeah,
I know. I remember when I used to work in my old job, it was in real estate. No one knows what board game is. And it'd be like, is that something like Monopoly?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good start. Yeah, something like that. It's what are the board games? What's your favorite? Are you trying to make conversation if I say Terraforming Mars? They were what? I mean, they're nice, but I feel a little bit out of place in that matter. And what Matthew said, it is correct. So feeling included in a certain hobby, certain group, it feels good. Come on, it feels good, right? Being included in that. So
yeah, totally. And represent different people actually makes everything more interesting, more diverse. It's you don't want to, for example, in a TV series, in a movie, in a game, in a board game, you don't want to see every time the same thing. It's boring.
Yeah, that's very true.
Sorry for being so open, but that's true. I don't want to see the same cliches and tropes every time. So yeah, and how can we make board games diverse? What can we do?
Well, I think what we can do is demand for it, the weight dollar. I know you all are different countries, but so your currency is, it's important. So if there's a blatantly racist board game, don't buy it, don't promote it, don't review it, that is one way that we can make sure that showing that hey, representation matters to us. And then on the alternative, and a more positive view, if a company that's coming out that has a bunch of characters that are well represented, or if it's a diverse like designer or artist, like buying them, promoting them. Like those are all different ways that we can like support more diversity in the hobby.
But we are in the world of where this is very acknowledged. There are lots of games that support this view, which I think it's very important. And I think a lot of people also more embracing this idea, which I think is great. It's more and more in 2020. What year is this? Oh my gosh, 2022.
I know.
Like, so quick. What happened? What happened? 2 years just gone.
I don't.
Anyways, I know, right? It's so good.
Yeah, I think the way we could include diversity in the games, I think it happens on all fronts. It's content creators, it's consumers, designers, publishers, everybody in it. I think that it's about making sure that when you're working on a game, right, and you have like a certain theme going on in the game, research that theme, right? Don't just like think it's cool and then just do it. Like get into it, right? Like really make the theme of that game come out by utilizing its diversity and speaking to people, right? Asking what people want. And then also, even like on content creator side, acknowledging when a game does such things instead of, because I've heard it in the past, specifically like about LGBTQ plus what's called representation in a game. Like people have used it as kind of like a warning, like, hey, by the way, if you're not into this, just know like this is in the game, right? And it's like, that could have been something where it's like, hey, by the way, like there's like homosexuality in this game, which is awesome, right? Like it could be a really cool point in the game. So I think that just like spreading awareness and positivity around it.
I will go one step further than what you said, Matthew, when you said like do your research. I think you can do as much research as you want, but I do think hiring like cultural like consultants is also really important because, you know, if you're doing like a topic that you know nothing about and you're going into research, there's so much information out there and you're never going to know what it is to actually be that person or culture. And hence why I do think hiring people from that background is really important because it actually gives you like a firsthand experience that you're not going to get from Wikipedia or like everything else. I mean, that's like how we get such like horrible mistakes. Like I'm not gonna say what games, like they thought it was true and it turned out it was like someone like did a joke in Wikipedia and then you get mistakes like that. So like, you know, it's really important that you hire people from that background if you're going to make a game from that background because your research is never going to be enough.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as you said, it is not enough to read something on Wikipedia or it's great to like involve people, for example, from the place or from the culture into actually designing or making the game. And yeah, I totally agree. It's super important. I was also lately thinking about board games covers. I have quite a lot of board games, and lately I checked on how many there is actually a diversity of any kind. For example, is there a woman on a cover? You know, I'm not asking much. And guys,
apparently you are though.
Yeah.
Apparently I am. Yeah, exactly. And you know, it was so sad because this is a first thing that persons see on in a board game, a cover, and yeah. But not only that, lately I also think about rule books. Can we do something about rule books to make it more diverse?
Yeah.
I can probably... Sorry, you go. No, Matthew.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I was just about to bring that up when you were talking about the covers. I was like, yeah, the rule books even, like how many times... 2022, Stella just, you know, reminded us what year.
Thank you.
And we still are seeing he, him only in rule books. It's baffling to me. It's like, are you... And then you'll even see, like, at the bottom, we acknowledge that there are other pronouns to use, but for simplicity reasons, we're using he, him. And it's like, are you serious? Like, you stated that you are aware of the problem, pretty much. And
And
then
also,
you
it's
still
not
went
that
ahead.
hard to use
It's not.
they. It's
It's
so
not.
simple.
They, player, you, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, it's not.
Also, we have
I,
a good comment from
sorry, I
Dr.
understand.
Nate. Oh, sorry, Stella.
No. I want to see what the comment is.
Dr. Nate said, for me, inclusivity also includes any act that normalizes people who are LGBTQ plus to the average person who might be playing. And that's what Matthew had mentioned earlier. Like, you know, like, don't be like, oh, I'm so sorry. There's like like a gay person in this game. No, like, it should just be like normal because it is normal. Yeah.
Indeed. I think I remember when I started Meeple University, it was bad. Don't watch our earlier videos. It was it was bad. It was also not like she or he. So we did not understand that. And then I started to tell Taryn. Taryn's mainly does the video. At the start, I don't want to show up. I just like, you do it. You do a better job than me. I don't want to show my face, whatever. I just do the editing. But then I force him. The one he came from, like, he's one of the most gentle person, non-racist, whatever. Like, he's very, it's not grammatically correct. Well, I was like, I remember I had not a fight, but like, what do you mean it's not grammatically correct? It's they. It's not now on Wikipedia or whatever, on dictionary now or whatever. So we changed it then because of that reason that Matthew said and Beneeta said. And we actually try, I don't know if you know, I've got from publishers, the first-time publisher, we've got a game on Kickstarter. I'm not plugging it, but we've got a game.
Please share.
Plug away.
I got a game. I want to bring it closer. It's called Floating Floors. Now, the designer is Japanese. Takashi Suwada. And the whole family is obviously a Japanese family that lives in New Zealand. And they even ask people specifically in the story of the game. This is like, by the way, the game's Floating Floors is a generic ninja theme. So they also try to find the story and the storyline, make sure it's it's correct. And the cover, we want to make it generic. Like, could be a girl, could be a guy. So we specifically ask Gong Studios, which is the artist, make sure that it is, it could be guy, could be a girl. I think things like that we're trying to feel people to be included because, we got like myself as part of Publisher Gap Studios, and we've got Takashi, and the family helps as well, can speak Japanese and things like that. So I think we would like to try, if possible, to try our best to include everybody, basically. That's what I want to say. Yeah.
And actually, you started a topic which I wanted to start in a moment, but so I will ask it now. What's actually your favorite board games in which you can see a lot of diversity, a lot of representation? Do you have such titles or not really? I can start if you want, if you need a moment to think about it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so my personal favorite, actually, maybe I shouldn't mention it right now, if we think about in what times we are living, but my favorite is actually Pandemic series. I mean, sorry everyone.
Okay.
But, I really like to see different people in role of a specialist, like doctors, etc. And it's really cool. There are a lot of different people in those roles in Pandemic, in the whole series. And it really makes me happy. Every time I'm playing the game, actually, it's like scratching a good place in my brain. And it brings me joy. It's something that you, Beneeta, told earlier. It's nice to look at somebody in a game. And, it's not exactly you. I will never become a doctor in a way. But thank God for some people. But I can think about this female specialist and just feel nice. Yeah. So, Pandemic, that's for me. Do you have any games you have similar thoughts or feelings towards?
Well, okay, so this is kind of like I don't know if this counts, but I'm going to say it counts because a company actually hired me to be a cultural consultant for a board
Ooh.
game. They wanted to include like an Indian female character in their game. And like when they hired me, the character concept was like very generic Indian woman, very generic, which is fine. Like that's why they realized I needed to hire someone because they tried to do their research by themselves and it wasn't working out. And so like the woman was Hindu, which I'm not. That's not my religion. And like there is like a lot of like there is Hindu stuff in like board games, and I was like, well, if you want to keep that, you're gonna have to find someone else because I can't speak to that. But if we tweak the character a little bit and make her a Punjabi character, which is a culture in India, I can obviously work on that because I'm Punjabi. So I've been working with this company for 6 months to make this character, and it's just so cool because I see so much of myself in this character because I've put so much of myself into this character. Like, you know, like everything down to like her outfit, to like the earrings that she wears, her hairstyle, her name. I named it after my cousin. Like all of that. Like, so that is my favorite board game. It's Atma. It's a role-playing board game. And it's coming out next year. But so that's cheating a little bit, but I feel like it's okay if I cheat because like I made that character. So hopefully that's a lot.
That's wonderful.
I think I'm about to cheat a little bit too because I don't know if this could quite be considered a board game, though it was marketed towards board gamers. And I'm talking about Legacy of Dragonholt, where it's totally story driven. You make your own character, and I think that this is my favorite because the way that the designer of the game wrote out the instructions, you could see was very intentional in their wording and trying to be inclusive for anybody. And you get to make your own character in the game. So you are whoever you are, right? Whoever you want to be, which is cool. But then even in the story, there's lots of representation that I like. And specifically, I like it because I get to see homo-romantic relationships. I get to see trans identities in the game. And I was just like, wow, this is so cool. You normally these board games don't do this. But recently, because my biggest surprise game that had representation, because I was not thinking anything of it, and I started up a segment on Room 51's channel called Queer Review, and I wound up using this game. It's called Arch Ravels, which has it has lots of representation in it. Just in terms of racial identity, sexual identity, religious identity. It's just I was amazed. It had those with disabilities in the game as well. It just was throughout the game. I was just. It has nothing to do with anything, right? It's just you're making clothes, right, with yarn. But it's awesome. I'm yes, I want to see these people while I'm making yarn, or shirts or hats or whatever. So that was my biggest surprise one. But my favorite representation one, I guess, is Legacy of Dragonholt.
Wow, really love it. I've never heard about the game, actually. I mean, it's about making yarn?
Arch Ravels, you're not making yarn. I'm sorry, I said making yarn, but you're using yarn to make clothing.
Okay, it sounds wonderful, actually.
It's so nice. Yeah,
it's
awesome.
from XYZ Labs. It's good.
Oh, I've seen photos of it. It looks awesome.
Yes.
I don't know, but I think you're right about the pandemic. There's a lot of representation, especially. We play Pandemic Legacy Season 0.
Yeah.
There was a lot of those. And I also play recently Final Girls. I don't know if you've heard.
I haven't played that one.
That one's
fun. Yeah, you play that?
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. They have this core box, and then there's different feature films featuring different characters, and each character obviously it's called Final Girls, so all the characters are main characters, the heroes are girls, and it's like girls from different background and that sort of thing. And then we're very, very interesting, very exciting to play this solo game. It's a story based. It's also it's a cooperative. We play it sometimes 2 players, me and my husband. We play this controlling one character, and it is a very interesting one with each feature. I think each feature film box contains 2 different girls, and you can see that it's got different background to each girls. It's nice to see that they obviously I think they trying to include as many as possible.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Season 2 is coming out.
Yes, season 2 is coming out. Yeah.
Much stuff.
Okay, and actually, when we are talking about our favorite games with diversity, with representation, if we think about that, what kind of advice we can give to board game publishers based on that? I mean, what one advice you actually would give to the game publisher to make their games more approachable by a diverse group of people?
Do your research, maybe?
Maybe. We actually talk about the research a little bit, about hiring a consultant, which is actually a great idea as we speak. But is there anything else that you actually personally would advise publishers to do? I know I'm asking hard questions.
Are you saying, so I just want to make sure I understand the question. So what we would advise publishers to make sure there's more representation in the actual board game itself?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me a second to think about that.
I'm sorry, I know. I'm asking very tricky questions.
I'm thinking like from a marketing perspective where like you gather data, right? And see what people want from a game. Because I think it's also about like actually reaching these populations of people who don't know about board gaming, let's say, right? And you want to get more and more people into the hobby. That's what I guess we all want, right? Publishers want that for sure, because you're going to sell more games. Gamers want that because we have more people to play with, right? So I would say research in terms of like actually sending out questionnaires and surveys and things to different populations, seeing what do you like, what do you play, what do you want, and then building off of that. So that way you could create like gateway games, and then, but it includes things that those populations are interested in, right? And then start like actually marketing towards them, and showing like, hey, we have this game for you. You literally told us you wanted this, right? So that's sort of my thinking and strategy, I would say, that I would use. I went to business school. Yeah. So
that's a very cool idea. That's a very, very cool idea to actually ask those people, what do you really want?
So what I would do is that honestly, like, tell publishers to put their money where their mouth is. Hire board game designers who represent different populations, because I guarantee you if those populations will include representation in their board games, because that's them. So, don't hire obviously there's a balance, right? Because you have to make money and stuff, but you can make money from designers, or who are like up and coming designers who like cater to more diverse populations, like hiring new designers, making an effort to go to like Unpub, or putting out a call on social media being like, hey, we want to like send us your pitches, like things like that, like making an effort to like see beyond like the normal like 10 designers like you possibly work with, like try to find newer designers, because there are people out there making incredible games, if you just go and look.
Yeah, totally agree.
And Board&Dice, I think, has like the ally program, right?
Yes,
I was going to say that too. Yeah, you've got that. Board&Dice has got that. This show, for once. It's just conscious decisions, research conscious decisions,
Yeah.
Like for example, when we found out about Takashi Sawada, the designer, I was like, yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, we work with Takashi. He's a wonderful guy, a family man. It's really smart. So hopefully he listens to this one day.
You can
Your fan.
you can send it to him afterwards.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, sometimes we wonder that the big very often we want to make a product for like a biggest group of people in the hobby, but I think by the product we are making, we're actually creating who is the biggest group in a hobby. And if we start to make more diverse products, more diverse board games, we will have more diverse group of people playing board games actually. And there's another thing I wanted to ask you. Do you see how the board gaming industry and all people playing board games, how we are changing in the last like 10 years maybe? Is it better in terms of diversity, or you don't really see any changes? How is it?
Absolutely, I think it's definitely different. People are putting in additional efforts, like more and more people, publishers, putting additional effort and more conscious in that. It's more sensitive about things. It's trying to include a lot of things. I mean, what's this? 2022 minus 10 is 2012. We keep bringing out 2022. 2012.
Yeah.
I don't think I was playing board games then. Or maybe just like, it's an entry level board game. I probably wouldn't really have real board games. But I think it was, it's definitely different now.
I'm like Stella. I wasn't playing board games 10 years ago. I got into the hobby around like 2017, so it's been like 5 years for me. But I will say so that first year I got into gaming, I was looking at all the top 10 lists that I found online, like buying everything. Oof, don't like to talk about it. Yeah. But so I was buying a lot. I know, I'm just like, woo, when I think about how much money I spent that first year about games that I will never play again. So a lot of the games that I bought were from like a few years ago, like from earlier in like 3 or 4 before 2017. And like, we mentioned this like earlier in the stream, like, but like there was just dudes on the cover. The art wasn't pretty. Like if there were people, it was mostly like white people, like just like that. So now when I go buy a game, there's so much more, like there's just so much more, like I can see myself in. Like we just talked about art rivals, like just that's not even the point of the game. It's just included because like that's the world that we live in, right? Like the world we live in has people that look differently. And I love seeing that like we're having these important discussions. And I think the more that we have these important discussions, the more publishers who have the money will realize like, oh, this is really important. We need to keep including representation in our games. And I think just like being vocal about that, being vocal when like we disagree, like if there's a game, then there's like no people of color, like being like, hey, what's up with that? Or if there's like only like guys in the game, hey, what's up with that? Like that's not reflective of our hobby. That's not reflective of like who are playing your games. So
yeah. I'm thinking 10 years ago, I was just starting to get into the hobby, mostly from like a viewer perspective. I was watching content creators. I wasn't actually playing board games. I don't know what it was. I felt like, oh, okay, like board games was like for these people, like too like far out of reach for me for some reason. I don't, and maybe it was because of the people I was watching. It mostly white dudes, right? So I didn't feel like it was for me. Although the game seemed amazing. I think that over time I've noticed definitely a huge change in terms of like who big content creators are now, or who's growing. Just there's more variety of people, and then more ideas coming out of it as well, and just more interesting content, I think, too, where it's not just reviews or top 10 lists or anything. It's so many different ideas and everything, and so many different types of people. In terms of games, I've definitely seen a change in there as well, where it's like there's a point nobody would question it if it was just a bunch of he's in the rule book, a bunch of white dudes on a
Yeah.
map, you know, like nobody would be questioning that. Now you'll see it on Board Game Geek or Kickstarter comments and everything where people are questioning it. And content creators are coming out and saying like, hello, I'm here, you know. So I think that has changed. I mean, obviously we have a very long way to go because we could do
Yeah.
a lot better. But I'm glad to see that there's been a huge jump from 10 years ago to from before. I was like, I actually have a bunch of games now because I feel like I'm allowed to have them. I don't know.
Like just talking about content creators, like look at who's on the panel right
Yeah.
now, right? Like we weren't making content like 5, 7, 10 years ago, and now like we all like do different things, and that's so cool. Like we're not all just like YouTubers or like Insta, like, you know, like we all have our own niches and we all have our own communities. And I think that's so cool that the game hobby is so broad that all of us can like thrive in our respective niches. I think that's amazing.
I think it took me a few months, I think, from we started Maple University for me to actually show up in front of camera rather than just behind the camera. I just get my husband to do it first. I was like, but I'm this, like, hang on, no, just whatever.
Yeah.
It definitely took me a few months to come out at all about anything.
Yeah.
Or
I didn't even want to do Twitch in the beginning. I used to be part of Girls' Game Shelf, and they asked me when we started our channel, they're like, Beneeta, do you want to do Twitch? And I was like, no, thank you. I don't want
to say no to Twitch.
I don't want to be on camera like multiple times a week. That sounds terrible. And then I was convinced to
Look
do
at
it,
you now.
and look at me now. I got my own channel and everything. It's wild.
And you know, it's actually super cool that you can search materials about board games, and you actually find a lot of different people, not only, sorry again, white dudes. I mean, that's exactly how it was. I totally agree with Matthew. 10 years ago, if you want to check out a review of a game, this is the only people you could find. Yeah. And it was a little bit terrifying, being honest. And I'm really super excited that we can have this panel in this group of people today. And I want to give a little bit of a shout out based on what Stella said to all diverse people out there who's thinking, I'm not good enough, or I'm shy, or I don't really want to talk about board games. It is really important, and you really can do that. And it would be really, really, really amazing if you can. Okay, guys, another question again. I still have some. Okay, so what group of, can you think about a group which is still not very well represented in our industry and you would really, really like to see it more? Is there anything like that?
I know one that although I live in Australia, I originally from Indonesia, who's got Chinese background. So I'd be like just Chinese, Indonesian, Australia, and all that's like behind me. So I think in Indonesia, there are like 20 plus provinces, and each one has got its own cultures. I've seen a few board games, and which means that there's like 20 something different like type of food. And then
yes.
So there's like each one almost have their own different cultures. They just like evolve in like a different culture, different languages as some of them. Like my mom from Kalimantan, and she can speak the local languages, and there's people from Java who speaks like Javanese. Now my parents live in Bali and they speak Balinese. It's like almost all of them have got their own languages. It's like just a lot of them. I've only seen only a little bit games. I think, here and there, maybe like in coffee traders, there's Sumatra coffee was featured, and then there's other games where there's Indonesia in the map, Surabaya or some of the cities, but it really is a lot of cultures within the country itself. So I wouldn't mind, if possible, seeing more of those.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be a little bit selfish. I would love to see more Indians and Punjabis.
Yeah, of course.
And
Be selfish.
Like every time there is like, you know, anything like Indian in most board games, it's almost always like about Hindu gods, which makes me feel a little weird because most of the time the games that about the Hindu gods are designed by white dudes. And it makes me wonder how much research you did that into that. Why did you stick on a theme about an elephant? Like, you know, it just makes me wonder. So I would love more games that included, you know, because in like, you know, Stella, you mentioned like, you know, there's in India has so many regions, like India has so many regions like that, right? Like it's such a huge country and each region is so like different. Like I'm Punjabi, which is in North India, our culture is so different from like South Indian culture, you know, and I think that's amazing. And I would love for more games to include that culture and like, you know, don't just stop in a generic like, oh, this is what India is on it, because that's not true, you know, like there's so much more to my culture and to like the country as a whole. And yeah, I would love to see more of that. Like, I think the closest game in recent times that like kind of made sense was Holy from Floodgate. Holy in the game, it's like a 3-level game. Like what you throw from the top affects the bottom. And like the, you know, I didn't grow up in India, but my mom did. And like she would, like when she lived there, like they would throw Holy from like the balconies onto the people below. So she's like, it really like evokes that kind of feeling of like the actual Holy and like throwing colors. Like I know that they hired like cultural people like to like talk about the game and stuff, so like that's important. Like I thought like, you know, that actually captured the spirit, because like a lot of people in India celebrate Holi. So like I want more games like that actually like take into account things like that.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll be selfish too, right? Of course, I want to see more LGBTQ plus representation in games, especially like story-driven games where it's like you could totally have that, and it could have like trans folks in it, and you'll know that they're trans, and you know have like other sexualities going on in the game. But I think another to kind of just stray away from like the one that I'm always sort of preaching about, I would like to kind of see more Turkish culture in games. So I'm part Turkish, and there's not a whole lot of games out there. And even though like we talk a lot about like the Mediterranean and whatever, the spices, blah, 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 whatever. But like the only game I could think about is Istanbul. It's in the name, Istanbul. That one has like your cousin is like in jail. And you have to like go get them. And like you're a merchant or whatever. And I was just like, what is this game? I mean, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I will play that game. But
it's a great game. But
so the theme is kind of like, what the hell? I would just like more Turkish stuff. Like there's cool things like drinking chai, which is just called tea. I know like we have something called like chai, and it's like chai spice latte, whatever. But chai in Turkish means tea, just regular tea, right? And so that would be cool, you know. And there's certain different like parts, like if maybe you're in the city like Istanbul, cool, like bustling, whatever. But maybe you're in a poor area or something, and they love like fruit and stuff, and like they make their own fruit in their back garden and things like that, and the community building, and it's just it'd be really cool to see more Turkish stuff in the board game world.
Agreed. We have some cool comments here. So Amanda Panda says, I wish that the Chinese culture was shown differently because there's so much diversity. North is different from South, Taiwan is different from China, and more disability represented. I love when wheelchairs are shown in games. And she's also glad that more publishers are taking colorblindness into account, which is very true, which is very good.
Oh yes, colorblindness. This is something super important, and I think because I get excited because I'm playing with a friend who's colorblind, and it's very easy for me to spot which games really
Yeah.
not taking that into consideration, you
Yeah.
know?
My brother's colorblind, and he won't admit it, but he is. And so when we're playing games, he thinks like something is green when it's blue, and I'm like, oh man, we need to play another game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes you see that a publisher try to approach it in many ways, picking colors which are easier for people with color blindness, or creating those symbols. This is really cool. You know that
Patterns,
you are,
yeah.
like welcome at the table. This game is for me, thank God.
Yeah.
And we also talked about a very interesting topic, that a lot of games actually are very Europe or Western culture oriented. And I can also see that often games with like fantasy a team, when you have a fantasy team and you can basically do everything you want, you still base your idea on the Western culture, and this is actually sad. And I love things you said, that you would like to see another cultures in board games. It is super, super cool. Okay, guys, so what can we, for example, tell board gamers how they can invite people, more diverse people, to their table? What are no-nos? What they shouldn't do to not okay, I will give you an example. Some time ago, I went to a game shop. I don't know if you can call it. They had board games, RPGs, war games, and stuff. And when I entered, they were only white dudes again, and all of them looked at me very, very strangely, like I was some kind of an alien there. What are you doing,
man.
here, girl? Okay, that really didn't happen for a long time, but in that moment, I was like, okay, what I'm really doing here for? Like, what's happening? So what shouldn't we do, and what should we do at our board gaming table, so other people can feel welcome?
I think oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Stella.
No, please,
you. Go ahead.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper,
1, 2, 3.
Oh,
1,
again.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh. Okay.
Beneeta win.
What I was gonna say is that I think when you're introducing people who have not really played board games, be really mindful of what game you're playing with them, because I honestly don't remember what game it was, but I introduced one of my friends to a game that they later was like, yeah, I was a little uncomfortable playing that game, and I think it's because of the theme, and I sometimes don't think about it, because like a lot of your games, their themes are so throwaway. But like, so ever since like my friend mentioned that, I've been really mindful about what games when I'm introducing to. For example, like I would never introduce Puerto Rico to people. You know what I mean? Don't really play that game anymore. But especially like I know they're revising it and making it a different theme, but especially the way it is right now, I would never play that with a person of color. Just would never do that. You know what I mean? Because slavery is such a key component of that game. So yeah, just being mindful of what games that you're playing. Like maybe pick a game that has a lot of diversity in like an inoffensive theme. There's so many like good themes out there, like food or animals, like that like people can relate to. That you don't have to play games that rely on slavery.
Yeah,
that's a good point actually. The theme does actually, like most games are fine, but like specific themes like that, just gotta be careful. I'm probably doing it on a different angle. I organize a board game meetup fortnightly in my city in Melbourne. So the next one is this Wednesday, and I know that I position myself near the entrance so I can just like welcome people and so on. And I think 80-90% are males, and probably like 10% or less are females. Well, I am female, like I'm the organizer, so I just want to try to make sure I greet, especially the new people that saw our gaming event on meetup.com, and then it was like coming, and then the females like, oh, just come on, I'm the organizer. I'm introducing myself, just making them feel welcome, basically, and then trying to, match them with other people that want to start game or going to play a game or play games with me. I think everyone that I know of are pretty good. They're very welcoming in my board gaming groups. Like, they just like, it doesn't matter what you look like, just come play with us, type of thing. We've got a diversity of people as well here in Melbourne, so that's good. Yeah, so I guess it's a different take. Trying to welcome them to the gaming group. If they can message me on Facebook, just make sure they feel welcome.
Yeah, I think mine is going to go a little more in line with what Stella was saying. I think it goes really deeply into your own mindset of how you approach life, and like how open you are to like new experiences and new people. I'm a very shy person, but I like to think of myself as somebody who's open to experiencing new things, and new people, right? And different kinds of people. So I think that's what it's about. It's about, if you are like that, you kind of give off this aura of like people, of being approachable. And so people will come to you. So I'm a shy person, but I have like a lot of friends because people approach me. And it might be because I'm super open to like whoever you are, and that includes like people who totally disagree with the things that we're saying here. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's talk about it, But in terms of getting people, more and more representation and diversity in your gaming group, it's about who you surround yourself with, right? So if you are more approachable, other people will feel more comfortable to be around you. And so you'll have a more diverse cast of people around you, right? And then you could say like, hey, by the way, I love board games, and they'll be like, what? And then you could like bring them into the hobby. I've brought a whole bunch of people into the hobby, which has been awesome and so much fun. That's like my favorite part.
That's my favorite part too.
So I think it's really about who you are and how open-minded you are to possibilities.
Come join me, Matthew. Let's do stuff.
We have cookies.
We have a comment from Dr. Nate being like, I'd like to know what I could personally do to keep growing in my own life, and just wanted to like add something to that. Kind of what both Stella and Matthew have been saying, as like content creators, we're building our own communities, and like I'm building my community with intention. And what does that mean? That means that like, I don't say everyone is welcome, because that's not true. Everyone's welcome as long as you're respectful and that you have certain values. It doesn't matter if we don't share the same political beliefs necessarily, but there's certain core values that's a part of me and that's a part of my community. And that's how you can keep growing, is that like you make sure that you're not tolerating like hateful rhetoric, that you're not tolerating like people who are openly racist or sexist. And I think that is how you can keep growing in your personal life. Like, don't just like dismiss it, be like, oh, like they didn't really mean that. Like, maybe having a conversation, pull them aside and be like, hey, like, that comment that you made, did it make me feel good? Here's why. And like, helping people grow, because that's important. Like, we live in a society, like we need to talk to each other. So that is my long answer to Dr. Nate's comment.
I think I need I'm still growing, right? Like, I'll always be growing personally, but I think that I could have people join me along the way, and I think that helps, right? With that growth, both people who are for better progressive things, and then even those who are really like against it. I've had conversations, I've had video calls with people who've watched my videos who are like, what you said has totally been wrong when I'm talking about like queer stuff. And I'll have like video conversations with these people. I'll talk to them on Facebook, whatever, and we'll come to some sort of understanding with each other. it is emotionally draining. It is not something I recommend for everybody and to do all
That is
the
a
time.
lot of emotional labor,
Yeah,
Matthew.
yeah,
Like that, I don't know if I could do that. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot. And I'm not recommending to do it all the time, but when
Yeah.
you can, I would say take that time because it can help somebody else grow and it helps you grow as well, to better understand where is this like disconnect coming from.
Yeah.
And actually, like receiving a feedback, because you mentioned something like that, I think this is also so super important to be open, to not be like somebody giving you a pointer that maybe you are mistaken in some stuff and you're like just, no, you need to be open. And I think that, for example, about growing, I still don't know so many stuff about diversity, and I love other people to say that if I do something wrong or I say something that make them not very happy, I'm really happy when they can share it with me, and that's really cool. Okay, guys, and like I have another question about like welcoming new people into the hobby. Exactly, how to welcome a completely new person into the board gaming hobby so they can feel welcome. How to do that?
Maybe get the people, like we're talking about anyone in general, right?
Yeah.
New board gamers. Ooh, let's recruit more. Just maybe ask for the
one of us.
One person.
Exactly.
Maybe get the topics that they're interested in that reel them in. I got one of my good friends that I've known for more than 10 years. He doesn't play board games, but he cycled. So I slowly try to get him into board. Well, I don't know if I managed to, but I remember deliberately choosing Flamme Rouge, which is a game about cycling for him to play. And it's quite light as well. So maybe theme is one thing. Others might have different, like anything light and thematically attractive to them, but others might have different ideas.
Yeah.
Wow, from cycling to board games. I love it.
Well, I do something a little similar. I will I'll ask my friend what their interests are and things like that, or what kind of mass market games do they enjoy, and depending on what game they say, I'll try to introduce like a similar vibe, but like in the hobby like board game space, or just play party games with them. I especially in the pandemic, playing games over Zoom have come to really appreciate like party games. And oftentimes like I will start choosing games that have like 2 or 3 rules. Like for example, Just One and So Clover have been like games that I have introduced to dozens and dozens. Oh, and Blank Slate. So Blank Slate, Just One, and So Clover. Those 3 are my top 3 party games. And I have introduced this game to so many people, and like that's just a good introduction to like, and people are like, oh wow, this game was really fun. Can you like, and I've had conversations like that's been the game I've introduced them to, and then they ask me more like slightly more strategy games, like what other else games do you recommend? I'm like, ooh, okay, are you ready? Because I can talk about this forever.
Yeah, I agree with Stella and Beneeta. I think it's a lot about what games you choose and who you're playing with. I've played a snot ton of catchphrase with people. It's just this like little device. It's not a board game, really. It's this device that goes around and you're giving clues about like the phrase or word that's on your on the device, and it's kind of like a hot potato thing. It's going around and you don't want to be stuck with it. And it's team versus team, which is cool. So people will tend to have fun with that, or if they want something calmer, like you whip out like King Domino or something, has gone over well, or even some roll and writes that don't have a whole lot of rules, or if they want to kind of just like do something on their own, they're more of like an individual person. I've also used the technique of just like forcing board games onto people where
oh, wow.
I don't know if I can recommend that.
I work with college students, and so in the classroom, like I'll bring in these games, and the population I work with specifically are they're a diverse population. It's just how it is, and they so they get to see like what's out there. So like I've played things like Spyfall with them, and I've played some roll and rides, like I can't remember, although some of those really don't go over very well. And they're like, what is this? So sometimes maybe that doesn't work. But some of the games, like, or even Unlock is a really cool one where they're like, what? I get to use my phone? And I'm like, yes, take your phone out, you know? So it's cool. So yeah, I think just like getting people excited about it, showing your enthusiasm, your excitement, it's infectious, you know? So that's my recommendation.
Dr. Nate says that show them that gaming is about the people just as much as about the games. And that's so important. Like, this is why I love board games so much, because of the social component. It got me away from my phone. It got me away from my computer. Although now I Twitch stream, so that's not really accurate anymore. but I'm playing games with other people. Like, that's what I love about it. Like, honestly, like, if you watch my streams, like the first hour is just me talking to the community, mostly about board games for like 1 hour. And then I'm like, oh yeah, we should play the game that we're supposed to play. Like, you know, like that's just, I love the social aspect of gaming. And that's the kind of like the feeling I want to give to other people when I introduce them to games. Cause it's like a way to like connect with people and like hang out with people. That's not like going out to drink. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like something else that you can do with your friends.
Yeah, that's absolutely 1000% correct. That's how I met my husband, through board games meetup. It's like, hey, just some random guy coming over and playing games. And then now Taryn is my husband. And then I've got lots of friends, a lot of close friends that we spend time other things than board game, but it started in board games. So, you know, it's something in common. It's really easy to develop any type of relationships, really.
Yeah. Rainer mentioned, I can't even imagine how lacking life would be if it weren't for all the diverse people I've met through board gaming. And now I'm even fortunate to call many of them my friends. Yeah, I have met so many cool people. I got to meet Matthew and Stella. This is the first time we're like actually speaking. So like I follow all of you on social media, but like now it's so cool to actually like, talk to you both.
I've met Stella a couple of times, but I've never met Beneeta. So this is my first time meeting Beneeta.
Yeah.
And I think this is like the most important part, that board games are, as you said, social activity. And actually that's why, and we are meeting so many new people. And that's why it's so important that they all feel welcome, like during play, during like talking to us. Guys, I think we are slowly getting to the end of this panel. Do you have anything you would like to share with us now? Anything regarding diversity and representation?
I think,
Nope, you go first.
I was going to say something cheeky anyway. It was just nothing too serious, but like, I think meetup.com, where I found my husband, is the best dating app ever. Other than like, I used to be in online dating. I'm like, nah, that's it.
You give me hope, Sel. I'm very single. You give me hope. I will say something a little less cheeky. I will say that, you know, as a consumer, your value is so important. If some diversity inclusion is something that you very much aspire for, you know, then show that in not just in the games that you buy, but also in like the creators that you support, the creators that you watch, the companies that you also support. You know, there's definitely bad board game companies out there. I'm not gonna say which ones, but there are. Like, do your research. And like, also there's so, like we mentioned earlier, there's so many content creators these days, and there's so many like diverse views. Go tip them on Patreon or their Ko-fi, or go just watch their content. Like, even just like thumbing up one of their videos is helpful, or like following them on Twitch. Just things like that. There's so many ways you can support it, because the more you support different creators, all these creators are bringing in people. Like one of my favorite content creators is Raina, 1 Minute Board Game. She like has like 250,000 followers on like TikTok. And like that is a whole like segment of the population that does not watch YouTube. You know, like she's bringing in such a cool, interesting like people into the hobby. Like we need more people like that, like I think that's amazing. And I just, shout out to her. But like, I think that's just a way to like bring in more people. And that's really important.
I guess my final remark would just be more so, I guess, for gamers or anyone who wants to be in the hobby or industry, that you matter too. You're important as well. And don't let people who make you invisible actually make you invisible, right? Like, don't allow yourself to be invisible just because somebody says that you are. Be out there and let them know, like, no, I'm here, and this is what I want, because you deserve it.
Thank you so much for those beautiful words at the end of our panel. Thank you so much that you join us here. I'm very, very happy I could speak with all of you. As I said before, I'm so happy that you are our guests. For me tonight, for you today, I believe. So thank you very much. And yeah, this is it.
Yeah, thank you for having us. This was amazing.
Yes.
I think it was a really good panel.
This was awesome. Thank you so much. I love speaking to all of you. This is great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, and I hope that you will join us for the next panel.
We will probably. So somebody asked about where they can find us in the world of
great.
internet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please share.
Beneeta?
Okay. I was going to wait for you to go first. Okay, quick. My name is Beneeta Kaur. I am a board game Twitch streamer and TikToker. You can find me at where I've been hanging out in chat. You could just click on my name, or I can put my link. I'm also on Instagram. If you like high energy board game content, that's me. I stream Mondays and Wednesdays and Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I often play with guests, including Amanda Panda, who's like in chat right now. And yeah, we hang out, we play games, we talk games. If that sounds anything you're into, come go follow me.
Matthew?
Okay, all right. So Stella, you'll go. Okay. My name is Matthew Melissa Makak. I tend to go by Matthew, but yeah, you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/room51 and on Twitch at twitch.com/room51live. We go live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's where I'm joined with my brother, and we're just wacky, silly people. And we take way too long to play 15-minute games. So, there's that. I'm also on the Dice Tower. You can find me on there for Teach the Teach and Board Game Breakfast. But otherwise, I think that's it. But you can also find me all over on social media at This Is Room 51.
Stella?
Thanks. I've Maple University. So me and my husband, Terrence, we do Maple University. So you can find me on YouTube, Maple University, Instagram, mainly those two, and some on Twitch as well. We stream every, my time Sunday. So your time, American time, Canada time is Saturday afternoon, evening-ish. We do have to play through on Dice Tower as well, video on Dice Tower. And yeah, you can just. I'm also part of Guff Studios, as I probably say earlier. I did say earlier. Part of Guff Studios, who's having a game on Kickstarter. That's it.
Thank you very much, all of you. So now, guys, you know where to find all those amazing people. Yay! And thank you very much once again. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.